People will tell you be nice, be kind, be soft, be agreeable. That's the advice society loves to hand out, especially if you're someone they think they can control. But let me tell you something very clearly. If all you are is nice, if all you are is agreeable, you will be used, walked on, and forgotten. You should be a monster. Now, before you misunderstand, being a monster doesn't mean being cruel, reckless, or destructive. It doesn't mean hurting others for sport. It means being capable of strength, capable of power, capable of doing what others are too afraid to do. Because if you don't have that edge, you'll never be respected. People respect those who set boundaries, who stand tall, who can bite back when necessary. When you're only good, you're vulnerable, you're unprotected, you become easy prey for manipulators, liars, and abusers. And when they come for you, because they will, you won't have the strength to stop them. But when you've built yourself into a monster, when you've sharpened your claws, trained your mind, strengthened your will, then you become untouchable. You have the power to protect yourself, the discipline to control that power, and the wisdom to use it when it matters. Here's the truth: kindness without strength is weakness. But strength under control, that is power. So don't aim to be harmless. Don't aim to be agreeable at the cost of your own respect. Aim to be strong. Aim to be dangerous. Aim to be the kind of person who could tear the world apart if you wanted to, but chooses not to. That's what makes you formidable. That's what earns true respect. And that's what will protect not only you, but the people you love. So remember this: you should be a monster, but one that you control, because the world does not respect weakness, but it will always respect power that is disciplined. Kindness without strength is weakness. People often misunderstand what kindness truly means. They think kindness is about always saying yes, never pushing back, always keeping the peace, even if it costs you your dignity. They think kindness is about being the person who carries everyone else's weight while no one bothers to ask how heavy your own load is. That is not kindness. That is compliance. And compliance is the mask of weakness. True kindness can only exist when you have strength behind it. If you are kind because you have no other choice, then you're not kind. You're powerless. People can smell it. They can see it in the way you lower your eyes, in the way you hesitate to speak up, in the way you accept less than what you deserve because you're afraid of confrontation. And the world, unfortunately, is full of people who will take advantage of that weakness. They will manipulate you, they will test you, and they will use you until there is nothing left. When kindness comes from a place of fear, it becomes a tool others use to control you. It becomes the reason you get ignored in meetings, overlooked in opportunities, dismissed in relationships, and treated as though your voice doesn't matter. Because if your kindness has no backbone, if it is not supported by strength, then it is not respected. Respect never comes from people who think they can control you. Respect only comes from people who know you cannot be controlled. Strength changes everything. When you are strong, mentally, emotionally, physically, you can choose kindness because you want to, not because you're forced to. That is the difference. That is where kindness becomes powerful. Imagine two people. One is kind because they fear rejection. The other is kind because they have nothing to prove. Which one do you respect more? Which one do you listen to when they speak? Which one do you hesitate to cross? You respect the one who is capable of more, but chooses discipline, chooses grace, chooses kindness. Strength gives you the ability to say no. It gives you the power to walk away from people who drain you, to stand firm when others try to push past your boundaries, to demand respect without ever having to raise your voice. Without strength, kindness collapses under pressure. With strength, kindness becomes an act of will. It becomes a conscious decision rather than a default behavior. There is also a danger in confusing kindness with weakness. Some people pride themselves on being good because they never make waves, they never argue, they never fight. But being a perpetual people pleaser is not a virtue. It is a liability. It allows the wrong people into your life. It enables toxic behavior, and it leaves you resentful and bitter in the end. What people call kindness is often just avoidance. Avoidance of conflict, avoidance of standing up for themselves, avoidance of the discomfort that comes with being assertive. But avoidance is not kindness. It is surrender. Keenness should never come at the expense of your self-respect. If you find yourself constantly giving and never receiving, constantly apologizing for things that aren't your fault, constantly shrinking yourself so others can feel bigger, then that is not kindness. That is weakness disguised as virtue, and weakness disguised as virtue is one of the fastest ways to destroy your sense of worth. True kindness requires courage, courage to stand up for what is right, courage to defend others when they cannot defend themselves, courage to look someone in the eye and tell them no, courage to be generous, not because you are desperate for approval, but because your strength allows you to give without fear of being taken advantage of. Strength allows you to control the energy you put into the world. When you have strength, you can decide when to show compassion and when to be firm. You can choose when to extend forgiveness and when to hold someone accountable. You can choose when to step forward and when to walk away. That is real power, the ability to make decisions from a place of strength instead of desperation. The world does not reward weakness. It exploits it, but it does reward strength. And when that strength is balanced with genuine kindness, you become someone who is respected, trusted, and followed. People can feel the difference. They know when your kindness is a choice rather than a prison. They know when your kindness comes from a strong foundation rather than a fragile need to be liked. If all you are is kind, you will be stepped on. But if you are strong first, your kindness will carry weight. It will command attention. It will be remembered, not as something people took for granted, but as something they valued because they knew it came from a place of power. Power under control earns respect. Anyone can lose control. Anyone can lash out, throw a tantrum, or use aggression to dominate others. That is not power. That is insecurity dressed up as strength. Real power is not about showing people how loud you can get or how much destruction you can cause. Real power is about restraint. It is about having the ability to do damage, but choosing to hold back. It is about demonstrating that you are capable of more than others can imagine, but disciplined enough not to abuse it. That balance is what people respect. When people see someone with power, but without control, they don't admire them, they fear them, and fear is temporary. Fear fades the moment someone stronger or smarter comes along. But respect, that lasts. Respect is built when others strong enough to act, but wise enough to choose when to act. Respect is built when people can rely on you not to lose your head in chaos, not to react emotionally, not to be manipulated into playing someone else's game. Think about it. If you see a person who has no strength, who cannot defend themselves, who cannot stand up for what they believe in, you may feel sympathy, but you don't respect them. On the other hand, if you see someone who has strength but constantly misuses it, bullying others, throwing their weight around, acting on impulse, you may fear them in the moment, but deep down you don't respect them either. The person who earns respect is the one who has mastered themselves. Power without self-control is dangerous, but power with discipline is unstoppable. Self-control is proof of mastery. If you cannot control your emotions, then your emotions control you. If you cannot control your impulses, then your impulses decide your future. If you cannot control your tongue, your anger, your desires, then you are not powerful. You are a slave to your weaknesses. The strongest person in the room is not the one shouting the loudest. It's the one who doesn't need to shout at all. It's the one who can sit calmly while everyone else loses their composure. It's the one who makes decisions not out of panic, but out of clarity. Power under control creates trust. People trust those who they know are capable of great strength, but won't misuse it. A leader who rules through fear alone eventually loses everything, because the moment their followers no longer fear them, they turn away. But a leader who combines strength with discipline creates loyalty. People follow them not because they are scared, but because they respect their balance, their fairness, their steadiness. Respect is not just about strength. It is about the integrity that comes with it. There will always be situations that test your ability to control yourself. Someone will insult you, try to provoke you, push your buttons to see how you'll react. If you take the bait, if you explode, if you let anger drive you, you lose your power in that moment. The person who provoked you now controls you because they pulled you out of your strength and into their chaos. But if you hold steady, if you refuse to be manipulated, if you maintain control when others expect you to break, that's when you show real power. Controlled power is also strategic. It allows you to decide when to move and when to stay still. It allows you to see the bigger picture instead of reacting to every little spark. A boxer who swings wildly in every direction exhausts themselves and leaves openings. But a boxer who controls their power, who knows when to hold back and when to strike, earns victories. The same applies in life. Those who can't control themselves burn bridges, destroy opportunities, and push people away. Those who master themselves earn respect, trust, and influence. It is easy to confuse control with weakness. Some may look at someone who doesn't react and assume they're passive, but silence is not weakness when it comes from strength. Walking away is not weakness when you know you could stay and win but choose not to waste your energy. Restraint is not weakness when it comes from the confidence of knowing what you're capable of. That's the difference. Weakness is having no choice but to retreat. Strength with control is choosing to retreat because the battle isn't worth your time. When people know you have power, but also know you control it, they respect you differently. They understand you are not reckless. You are not desperate to prove yourself. You are not unstable. They know you can't be easily provoked, manipulated, or intimidated. That presence alone changes the way people treat you. They stop seeing you as someone they can test or exploit. They begin to measure their words, adjust their behavior because they sense the discipline in you. Power without control destroys relationships, opportunities, and reputations. It burns fast and leaves nothing behind. But power under control builds influence, stability, and respect. It allows you to walk into any room without saying a word and people still feel your presence. Not because you've intimidated them, but because they recognize the discipline in your energy. That kind of respect is not demanded. It is earned and it is lasting. Be dangerous, but choose discipline. The world often tells you to be harmless, to tone yourself down, to make yourself small so others feel comfortable. But harmlessness is not a virtue. Harmlessness means you have no teeth, no claws, no fire inside you. Harmlessness means you cannot defend yourself. You cannot push back. You cannot take control when life demands it. And when you are harmless, the world eats you alive. Dangerous people change outcomes. Dangerous people set boundaries. Dangerous people are the ones others don't want to cross because they know there will be consequences. To be dangerous means you have cultivated the ability to strike, to defend, to move with strength when necessary. It means you have sharpened your mind, trained your body, built resilience in your spirit. Being dangerous is not about being reckless. It is about being capable of more than others expect, capable of more than what is obvious on the surface. But danger on its own is chaos. If you are dangerous without discipline, you become destructive. You harm yourself, you harm others, you waste your energy on battles that don't matter. An undisciplined fighter swings wildly until they are exhausted. An undisciplined leader abuses power until no one follows them. An undisciplined person with strength turns into their own enemy. That is why discipline must anchor danger. Discipline is what makes you effective. Discipline is what gives your strength meaning. To be dangerous but disciplined means you can walk into any situation knowing you are prepared for whatever comes. You are not at the mercy of fear because you can defend yourself. You are not at the mercy of manipulation because you have the awareness to see through it. You are not at the mercy of chance because you have prepared for the unexpected. Discipline turns raw danger into controlled power, and controlled power is respected. People respect those who have the ability to do damage, but the wisdom not to. People respect those who could crush their opponents, but choose patience, choose strategy, choose timing. People respect those who show restraint not out of weakness, but out of mastery. Discipline is the filter that determines when your danger should be revealed and when it should remain hidden. Without that filter, you waste your strength on meaningless fights and end up proving nothing. Think of fire. Fire is dangerous, unstoppable, destructive when it is out of control. But when fire is disciplined, it warms homes, forges steel, fuels engines. Its danger becomes productive, life-giving, transformative. The same applies to you. Your danger without discipline can burn everything down. But with discipline, it becomes a force that builds, protects, and commands respect. Discipline means you know when to stay silent and when to speak. It means you know when to walk away and when to stand your ground. It means you know when to be merciful and when to be firm. Discipline allows you to conserve your energy for the battles that matter most, because not every argument deserves your voice. Not every fight deserves your strength. Not every provocation deserves your reaction. A disciplined person knows that choosing when not to act is as important as knowing when to act. Being dangerous but disciplined also changes the way people see you. The person who lashes out at every insult earns no respect. The person who tries to prove their strength constantly only shows their insecurity. But the person who is calm, collected, composed, and yet undeniably capable, that person is respected. That person makes others hesitate before testing them. That person influences without ever needing to brag. To get to that place, you must train yourself. Discipline is built through repetition, through struggle, through facing your weaknesses head on. It means pushing yourself when you don't feel like it. It means holding yourself accountable when no one is watching. It means building habits that make you stronger, sharper, and more resilient. Discipline is forged in the moments when comfort tempts you, but you choose growth instead. Danger without discipline fades quickly. A person who relies only on aggression burns out. A person who relies only on intimidation eventually meets someone stronger. But a person who is disciplined, who has cultivated their mind and body, who has learned to regulate their emotions, who has chosen control over impulse, that person doesn't fade. That person grows more formidable with time. Their danger evolves, sharpens, and becomes more effective. The most dangerous person in the room is rarely the one making the most noise. It is the one who doesn't need to. It is the one whose presence speaks before they do. It is the one who has disciplined their power so tightly that it radiates without ever being displayed. That level of control is not given. It is earned through discipline, through struggle, through sacrifice, through relentless practice. When you are dangerous but disciplined, you are no one's victim. You cannot be easily provoked. You cannot be easily manipulated. You cannot be easily broken. People know that you are not to be taken lightly, not because you said so, but because you carry yourself in a way that proves it. You become the person who doesn't just survive challenges, but shapes them. You become the person others look to when chaos erupts because they know you won't crumble. Discipline is the difference between being feared temporarily and being respected permanently. Fear fades as soon as someone braver comes along. But respect endures because it is built on the recognition of control, on the recognition of choice, on the recognition that you are dangerous, but you know exactly when and how to use that danger